Microphones and cameras have been switched off. The webinar is going to be recorded and it's going to be shared on the Farmer Connect website should you want to watch it again. The presentation today will be delivered by Stephen Fagan. Stephen is the head of operations and design at Moocall. He's also a beef and suckler farmer from Westmeath in Ireland. Please feel free to ask any questions. There is a Q&A, or there's a chat form at the bottom of the screen which you can click on and do any questions down there and we'll pick them up. Unfortunately, Stephen and I are not Welsh speakers, so if you could submit them in English, that would be fantastic. After the webinar, you're going to get an email to say that about an evaluation form. If you wouldn't mind filling this in, we'd be very grateful. The evaluation form helps us gather information about topics and services that you want to see in the future through Farming Connect. Stephen, over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Catherine, for that. Good evening, everyone. As Catherine had mentioned, I'm head of our operations and design at Moocall. I suppose the main topics that I want to cover really throughout this is basically how we're implementing technology to benefit the farmer really from a time aspect as well as a profitability and labour efficiency point of view. So a lot of the focus that we put on in our products is to really make the farmer's time more valuable to them. You know, so you can cover more throughout the day and be able to get best use out of utilising these technologies that are available. So I suppose just to give you a brief background on ourselves, we have been starting really with the Moocall Cavern Sensor. Was our first edition back in 2014, where one of our founders initially had lost a cow and calf due to not being present for a calving. So obviously this is not only a financial loss, but it's also an emotional loss to the farmer, especially if you're breeding you know, high pedigree cattle. So what we wanted to try do was develop a piece of technology that you could always be to always use and be available for each calving. 3 years later, and it was again through research and development, we were able to develop the Moocall heat system. So this product was again to utilise the farmer's time a lot better and be able to focus on the farmer's breeding season more in depth and understand why you know, in the cases of missed heats, trying to establish how many missed heats, or if you have an infertile bull, you know, to make yourself known of that sooner rather than later. So our mission really is to develop technologies and better solutions using mobile phone networks to basically make the farmer's time more efficient and cost effective. Ultimately to increase his or her productivity and profitability each year. So Niall Austin here is one of our founders. Back in 2010, he was the farmer who'd lost the cow and calf for a calving. After 4 years of research and development, there was no viable product that was on the market. There was, you know, some invasive technologies that were there that were available, but there was nothing that was non-invasive that could be easily transferred from cow to cow and be able to be used on a daily basis. So it was in 2014 we had launched after the research and development with the Moocall Cavern Sensor. I suppose on our team itself, we're basically made up of, I suppose we have a mixture of engineers, marketeers, we have multi-language speakers for all our different core markets, particularly in the European countries. We're also branched into the USA, the South American countries, and as far as Australia and New Zealand. And obviously, of course, the majority of the team is also farmers, so we all come from farming backgrounds, and we're trialing and testing products on a weekly basis here in the office as well. So with the Moocall Cavern Sensor, we basically wanted to free up a farmer's time, and this device that you see here in front of you, what we're actually picking up on, it's a spinal contraction in the cow's tail. It's a measured tail movement, and as close as possible to the actual calving that we're picking up on. We're sending 2 text messages to the closest hour that we expect that cow to give birth. So ultimately, it's really just reading the tail, so there's no heat detection or any temperature that we're reading, and it's all based on a specific tail movement. The problem that we actually are solving at the end of the day is reducing the amount of calves that you have dying each year. So on average, you have approximately 3% on all farms of calves are dying due to not being there on time for the calving. 17 to 18% of all heifers, which is a huge real volume, have a difficult first calf. So what you need to be there for is to assist that calf, and if it's a difficult calving that you're going to have, you need to be present for it. It goes the same with cows as well. If you're changing up bulls on a regular basis, whether you're using stock bulls or AIE bulls, you might have a cow that you have a more difficult calving or that would be present the following spring. This is where you need to make sure that you're there for them, where their calving rates will be a lot more difficult. Ultimately, one of our biggest things, and what customers have had in the past, relying on cameras and having cameras in your sheds to be able to rely on them. But I suppose the one thing that sets us apart from cameras is that we're alerting you to when you actually need to be there and present for the birth. So the calving cameras, they won't wake you in the middle of the night to basically let you know what's going on. So as I said, the sensor itself, as you can see, it attaches just to the back of the cow's tail opposite the vulva. That will actually alert you 1 hour to the closest, basically when that cow is about to give birth. So the solution that we are currently solving is that so far to date with the Moocall Cavern Sensor, we've over 500,000 detected calvings with the monitor. Our overall goal was, as I mentioned, to reduce mortality rates on farms. So with farmers using the Moocall Cavern Sensor, we've been able to reduce mortality rates down to 0.5%. And the biggest thing really at the end of the day is your timely intervention. So being there on time to utilise and make sure that that cow has a successful calving. If it's a difficult calving, you have to be there with your calving jack. That's where that timely intervention comes into play. And it also comes into play when you're talking in relation to colostrum and colostrum intake for that calf as soon as they're born. The first few hours of a calf's life is obviously the most important. So you're trying to get in as soon as possible approximately 2 to 3 litres of milk or of beesons to make sure that that calf is getting the best start to life. So being present there for that calving is very, very important. So just a little bit on the technology that we have integrated into the Moocall system. We're working off your mobile phone network. So this is essentially a mobile phone on the back of a cow's tail. We operate off what's known as a GSM network. So this network is available really in most countries, where we're able to adapt to the nearest network that might be best available in your area to pick up on signal and in turn actually be able to trigger out the text messages. So between the likes of Ireland and the UK, we have little to no signal issues with anywhere throughout the country. The device really just needs a minimal piece of signal in order for it to operate. The adjustments, as I mentioned, to the cow's tail, it's an adjustable strap that we have in place. So if you have, with the likes of your dairy cows, so if you had Frisian cows, the tails are a lot less, they're a lot narrower. So we're able to cut the length of the strap down, and you'll be able to adapt it to suit the breed of cows that you have. As you can see just on the front there, we have a little light indicator that each light sequence or light colours does determine different meanings. So, for instance, like a flashing blue light indicates that the device is active and currently reading on a cow's tail. The battery life itself, I suppose the biggest thing we wanted to do was try make sure that the battery life was we had a longevity in it. So we have a 30+ day battery life, and that does depend on use. So if you're not flat out using the device on a daily basis, you will actually knock a lot longer out of that. The unit itself is also, as you can see, it's non-invasive. So you don't have to use a probe or stick anything into the cow or hurt the cow in any way. The unit itself will attach to the tail, and it'll actually work its way from there. The 2 phone numbers we're able to assign. So once you register the unit, you're able to attach 2 mobile phones to that sensor. So if you get a text message in the middle of the night, or maybe you're away from home, or wherever the case is, the second mobile number you're able to put on that may be a neighbour or a friend or another family member that might be working on the farm or nearby when you are away, or if you're at the mart or sales or anything like that. So this is really how we attach it to the cow's tail. So as you can see in these pictures here, you're just placing the device opposite the vulva, and you're tightening in the ratchet strap until the device gets to a certain threshold that you can't actually pull it off the tail, but you can move it from side to side. So it doesn't affect anything with regards to blood circulation or discomfort or anything. And it's just placed up high on the tail for best reading and accuracy. So the text messages that you get from the device, the first alert that you're obviously getting is when we first start picking up on a suspected calving. So once we start reading that the calving is in progress, we're going to send you a first message just to give you a first warning that this cow is showing signs of contractions and she is showing signs of labour. Exactly an hour after that, when your signs of calving are consistent, we're actually triggering out a second alert to basically confirm to you that this cow is going to give birth very shortly. So after the second alert, typically the cow will calve within the hour of that second alert taking place. If the device is on the cow's tail for any longer really than 4 days, we recommend to just take the device off the cow. So there is an alert message that we send to give the cow a break. So it's kind of a similar function if you had a watch on your arm and you wanted to just take it off for a couple of hours. You leave the Moocall Cavern Sensor off the cow for approximately 2 hours, and it resets itself, and you can then place it back onto the cow's tail again. We also send, when the battery starts to run low in the unit, we'll send a text message to your phone to let you know when it goes below 15%. Now, we also have the Moocall Breed Manager app that when you're logged into that app, you'll also get all these alerts through the app. But one of the biggest main features that we have is that you're able to see that live percentage of the battery. So, you know, if you're concerned at any point and you wanted to just double check, you can't remember when you last charged it and you wanted to check when that battery was or what percentage it's on, you can just check in your app. If you have any concerns about, you know, sheds that maybe, you know, have poor signal or an area that has poor signal, you can do a test with the Moocall just to make sure that it's checking into the phone network okay from your own end. So you can this is simply just a double press and the unit cycles a green light, and it does a text message then to just let you know that the unit is correctly connected up and ready for use. Also, something we implemented over a year ago was an off-tail alert. So if the unit does fall off the tail or anything like that, say in the middle of the night, and the unit does get knocked off, we trigger out an off-tail alert just to let you know that the device may have fallen off the tail. And at that point, you can go and check the cow, make sure that she's okay, etc. So all these notifications are available through the Breed Manager app. Just a bit on our customer feedback. I suppose the biggest thing with any company that, you know, developing any sort of products, especially for the agricultural industry, is to really just adapt. And the early editions of the Moocall, we learnt a lot, and we're able to develop the product year on year to improve its accuracy, to improve the way it sits on the cow's tail. So, like, we're proud really of where we're at with the system. And as it stands today, like, we've over 300 positive reviews on our own page, and we've over 50,000 people following us on Facebook. So, you know, we've got a huge base at the end of the day, and, you know, I suppose it's really just continuously growing year on year. From a customer service point of view, so as I mentioned, we have multiple language speakers, you know, covering our European markets, for example. So that was one of the biggest things that we have here in our office, to cover, make sure all our customers are fully covered. Ultimately, to make sure our sensors are going through, everyone goes through a training process. So say when you activate your device initially, you set up the unit, we will give you a contact via phone call, and we also send you an email just to give you a full guide onto how to set up the devices themselves. And also, you also get a Moocall's user guide in the box once you purchase it. So there's a full set of how to set up the device and how to use it as well. We also have our own phone lines, so you know we're nearly open 24/7, but I won't say that. And we also have a live chat as well, which is probably one of our biggest features. You know, people can message in at any time and be able to get a response off the back of that as well. So what's included upon your purchase of the Cavern sensor? So you get, obviously, one device normally would do up to 30 to 40 cows, and this does depend really on how compact your calving season is. So if you have, you know, say 200 or 300 cows and your calving pattern is quite tight, you'd need to really up your numbers on the units. But if you say had 100 cows and they were spaced out across the whole year, you might be only looking at 1 to 2 devices to make sure that all cows are being covered. Each unit comes with 12 months of network service and also a 12-month warranty that's included in the system. You get your own Moocall Breed Manager account with us as well. So this allows you to change the numbers as frequently as you like. You also get to, you know, we have a breed management section that you'll be able to record all your herd's history with regards to, you know, sires that you're using and your calving rates. So it's be able to improve your overall farm from that point of view. Then, as I said, it's a rechargeable battery that we have inside the unit, so you get a power cord and all that's included. The strap itself is adjustable, and we have longer ones if ever needed for say big Charlie tails or the like. And then the user guide, as I mentioned, is included in that. So, as I said, the units themselves, they work off your mobile phone network. So each year we have a renewal that needs to be basically paid to keep the units connected up. It's essentially like a phone bill to keep that unit and SIM card connected up to your mobile phone network for the additional 12 months of the year. So to keep it up and running for another 12 months, it's £109 to basically keep that system operating and unlimited text messages throughout the year. It also has all your software updates, which happen on a regular basis, whether we're doing bug fixes or improvements, new app releases or updates to the units themselves, and we have our customer support and service then after that. You have the option as well to renew with the warranty after the first year if you'd like to have an additional year's warranty, and that just covers really the electronics and the battery of the sensor should there be any issues or anything like that. So I suppose the biggest unique selling points of the Cavern sensor itself, you know, really we're not using any base stations, and we don't require any Wi-Fi sources for the calving sensor to operate. All software downloads are actually done automatically by the device, so you don't need to install anything yourself. You know, we deploy everything, and it just updates automatically to your sensor. The batteries, again, not interchangeable. This is included in the system. So we trigger out the 1 hour notification, and then again that goes to a text message, an email, and we have a ringtone alerts, which, you know, the majority of our customers will be using. You know, if you're a heavy sleeper and you didn't hear the text messages coming through at night, you'll hear your calving alerts that come through the app. So it's actually an alarm function, and it's a cow mooing at you. So that's one of our biggest features. Also, it's very simple to set up, and all notifications are really at the touch of your fingertips. Everything is brought to your mobile phone, so anything that we trigger to you is it's purely just viewing it from your mobile. The device, as I'd mentioned previously, it's non-invasive, so you can just place that device on the cow's tail and walk away from her. You know, there's very little setup required. Once the device is turned on, it will start reading away as normal. The biggest things really from, you know, a cost saving point of view is, you know, you're saving calves ultimately because you're always going to be there for the birth. Cows, sleep, time and fuel. You know, the amount of time that you could spend going between, you know, different out farms or sheds or anything like that. You know, all this is quite valuable to a farmer. And one of the biggest things that's ultimately misundervalued is your farmer's time. The aftercare service then at the end of the day, you know, we're very proud of what we were able to achieve, and being able to contact all of our customers and be readily available for any questions or help that they have throughout the year. And at this stage, you know, we've 16,000 of these units out there, so it's an established and proven product. So this really just leads me on to the Moocall heat system. So, you know, obviously in 2017, it was when we launched with this, and it was over, you know, years of attending shows and talking to farmers on a daily basis that, you know, we were constantly being asked the question, what have you got for heat detection? And, you know, something that would be affordable to us. So this is one of the things that we looked heavily into, and, you know, compared to competitors that would be on the market, there's a lot of, you know, I suppose from a price point of view, it's quite expensive to get set up with something like this. You know, obviously you have your visual aids like tail paint or scratch cards, or even a chin ball harness. But, you know, we wanted to implement technology to be able to, you know, make this time of the year a lot easier for farmers as well. So this is one thing that, again, we had listened to and we had observed cattle behaviour over 3 years to determine how best the bull, and the bull was really the main thing that we had focused on, because look, at the end of the day, the best form of heat detection is the bull, and he's the professional that's in your field. We're basically working on the back of nature, utilising his activity to determine when cows are in heat. So the importance of heat detection, well, basically, I suppose the main aspects of it is you want to make sure that your bull is working, and you also want to make sure that your cows are working correctly as well. You know, any bulls or cows that are non-cycling, or, you know, if you have any bulls that are infertile, these want to be picked up as early as possible. Any cows that are not cycling correctly, that aren't cycling every 21 days, you know, you want to be able to monitor that and make sure that the bull is actually serving these cows, you know, and ultimately, you know, try to understand how many you have in calf coming into your calving season. So on heat detection, and this is probably one of the you know, the main things that we were able to establish, and this graph here is actually taken from a Chagas research project done across, you know, as you can see there's nearly 5,000 animals. One of the biggest times of the day for calvings or heat detections taking place, which is 60 to 75%, is actually at night. So this is a time in the day when you're not going to be there to observe the bull or observe cows mounting each other. So if you're using AI, obviously your optimal time for serving the cow would be when you actually see her after a standing heat. So you're trying to pick up on when that cow is actually coming into heat and then utilize that on the back of it. So it's a very interesting thing, and obviously because we have the collar working on the bull 24/7, we're able to pick up on your heats even at night time, and it's always reading the cows. So from a heat detection point of view, again, as you can see, the collar that's based on the bull's neck, this is basically picking up on all your heats there, and it's all based on the bull's activity level around each of your cows. So our goal really, as you can see, is to make sure that your bull is working correctly. So 4% of all bulls are actually infertile, and you have a case of 20% of bulls being subfertile also, which is, again, it's not ideal for anyone to have, and it's a very hard thing to identify. But if you have cows that you think may be the problem, and these cows are coming back in cycle, every 21 days, you have to question whether this will be the bull as well. And especially if you have an infertile bull, you'll know that very quickly when you're monitoring them and you have cows constantly coming back as repeats. So a good heat detection system can be indicated an infertile or subfertile bulls early, and you'll be able to pick up on that. So how does Moocall heat work, and what does it really tell the farmer? I suppose it's real-time information from your field. So we're picking up on that exact time of standing heat, and we're able to alert you on the back of that exactly when that cow is in heat. You're getting alerted for basically all different types of heats. As you know, it's crucial when you're serving cows with AI straws that you're actually going in at the right time with them. So identifying silent heats, normal or cystic cows, these are absolutely critical to make sure that you have a successful breeding season. Silent heats are very, very difficult to pick up from constant observation. So with the bull being in the field 24/7, he'll pick up on these heats again for you and make sure that you've nothing that's missed. One of the biggest things is your non-cycling cows. So where you have cow issues, picking up on them early and having them tested, whether it be by a vet, you'll be able to pick up on that and understand if there is any underlying health issues with that cow. If you have any fertility issues with the bull, this will be definitely visible after normally about 4 weeks into your breeding season. You'll be able to identify any in-calf or empty cows a lot quicker as well. So if you have the bull running in the fields and the cow is obviously, we deem her in-calf, she shouldn't come back then in heat using the collar. The collar won't pick her back up again if she's actually been served and she's held insemination from the bull. All this information then that we do record, it's all translated into the Moocall Breed Manager app that we have. And this is a free app that you can install from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store as well. So the algorithm itself, it's based on 3 core elements, okay? So in order for us to trigger out a heat alert, we're determining on the bull's time that he actually spends with each of the cows. So as you can see from this picture here, each of the cows just in the back there, they have a green strip tag that the cows are actually assigned to. So you can assign it to the cow name or the cow number, but each of the cows has to wear a Moocall branded ear tag. This ear tag then in turn is read by the bull's collar, and the bull's collar then is picking up on activity. So the activity then being the amount of movement that bull has around the cow, the amount of mounts that he has on a regular basis, and we pick up on that to generate your heat alert. Also, your proximity, that's the amount of time that the bull has spent and the space to which the bull has spent with the cow over a period of time. We're picking up on those 3 elements to indicate to you that there's a heat present with this cow. So just from a technical point of view, on the actual collar, it works very similar to the Cavern Sensor with regards to the network signal that it portrays. So you have, it works off your GSM networks again, and it also has your same light indicator like the Moocall Cavern Sensor. So it's able to determine different scenarios for you and give you text messages off the back of that. The strapping at the very top, you can easily adjust that by just pulling, if you have a small bull, a small teaser bull that you're working with, you just can tighten that up as much as you want. Or if you have a big stock bull, you'll be able to loosen that out a lot wider. So it's all very flexible and it's able to be adapted to all breeds. The actual hardware itself is extremely durable. Now we've put it really through all the testing you can imagine at this stage, and the actual housing that the collars are in, it'll take a lot of wear and tear. Like they're very shiny and green when you get them initially, but they will take a lot of beating and scratching and everything that you can imagine being worn by a bull. The actual, I suppose, from a reader point of view, we have readers on both sides of the collar itself, so it's picking up on cows' tags from all around itself. And as you can see on the top right there, those are the type of tags that we have. So once you assign that tag to the cow, it stays in her for the duration that she is on your farm. The battery, then we have 2 battery packs just at the bottom of the unit, and again it's a rechargeable device. This will normally takes about 5 to 6 hours to charge from flat, and you'd knock normally around 60 plus days of battery life out of it before having to be charging it up again. So this is just the tags again. These tags are basically placed just in the opposite. You only need 1 tag per cow, and it's just placed in the ear. You'll probably have your government tag beside it as well. And this is just to be identified so that we know what cow is wearing what tag and what cow is obviously in heat once we start picking up on activity. To apply this tag, you're using your normal applicator that you would for your government tag. It's the exact same fitting. So the advantages really of Moocall heat from both a stock bull point of view, is eliminating your need to actually scan cows at the end of the year, because we'll be able to tell you based on bull activity if that cow has held insemination or if she is to come back in heat again. You're getting this accurate information that's also portraying for you calf and due dates. Now, you can change the gestation periods depending on the bull that you're using, but normally it's your 283 days that we calculate the gestation period from the last insemination. Any cow or bull issues, we're able to identify those for you early to let you know what's exactly going on within the herd. Obviously, the biggest thing for using the system is the amount of time that you would save on a daily basis without using visual aids. So this is one of the major things if you're constantly going out and you're checking bulls and you're checking cows, it's very time consuming. And if you are using AI, especially with vasectomized bulls, it's a huge time saver to not have to look for visual aids or look at tail paint being rubbed off cows. So for vasectomizing bulls, typically you would do this normally no more than 6 to 8 weeks prior to your breeding season starting. And I suppose the biggest difference really with a vasectomized bull versus a bullock or a steer would be that your vasectomized bull still retains the essential hormones for heat detection. So once you have him vasectomized, he'll last you years on the farm as well, and you'll be able to keep him for utilizing on your heat detection. Again, it's a quite cheap and simple process. Obviously, your vet would have to intervene on it, but it's easily accessible. You can breed your own young bull, but you can also purchase in a vasectomized bull or purchase in a young bull at a young age. The biggest thing really with AI, obviously you want to improve your genetics, and if you're able to have the pick of your bulls, the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of money on straws and then ultimately waste them by not going in serving cows at the correct time. So being able to get your text message, we're able to tell you exactly when you're able to serve the cow. So you get your text message, it's 12 to 16 hours later, you'll be able to text or to serve that cow and ultimately have her best in calf or best time for serving. So it's the most cost-effective solution from a technology standpoint that is on the market, and it's really down to that we only have the bulk of the technology based on one of the animals in the field. So just on our own accuracy, I suppose the collar itself, from last year, we did a study on it with all our Irish customers, and we were able to establish almost a 97% 3-week submission rate. So this is obviously making sure that you're picking up on all your heats within as quickly a succession as possible. And to that then, we're almost achieving an 80% 3-week conception rate. So again, these would be huge figures compared to your national average would be approximately 64%. So in your first year of using the system, you'll be able to increase your in-calf rates quite significantly. From a notifications point of view, we actually trigger out, there's 4 different types. So we have a heat message that's detected, and that message basically outlines to you what cow is in heat and when she's come into heat. when you click into that message, you're able to see on your Moocall app how long that cow was actually in heat for. So it gives you a lot more background data into the heat itself and how long that bull-cow activity has been taking place. If the collar, for any instance, is to fall off the bull, we're able to trigger out a message to you basically with GPS coordinates that link up to the Moocall app, and you just click on that app and it opens up your Google Maps, and it's able to pinpoint to the nearest meter where the collar is based in your field or in your shed or wherever it has been scratched off. Again, we do send a low battery message when the unit goes below 15%. And again, like the Cavern sensor, you can check exactly how much percentage is left in that in the collar itself. From a text message point of view, you're able to just do a quick test. If you wanted to check again, you have fields that are, in land where you have very little signal, or you have a shed that you're concerned about signal, you can also send a test message. So the Breed Manager app, obviously, is, as I mentioned, it's one of our biggest features. And what we have really is a community page, and we also have a breed management page. So you're able to track your full breeding cycle from this free version of our app. It's able to indicate to you the different stages. So you have cycling, you also have in heat, what's inseminated, and what is actually in calf. And then it gives you a countdown as to when those cows are expected to calve or when they might be expected to cycle again. We also have, as I mentioned, the community page where you're able to, it's almost like a Facebook for farmers, and it's used on a daily basis where people are able to, post up pictures or post up queries or, any successes that they have with the system, and you're able to get comments or likes on the back of that as well. So as the app breaks down even further for you, you're able to get a bigger insight into your own breeding season. And it'll tell you, you can record all your animals in this, and you're able to see exactly what's the status throughout the whole herd. And recording your calvings obviously is ultimately important as well. You want to see what worked last year with what cows that are bulls that you were using versus what wasn't working. So if you had a lot of difficult calvings from one bull, in 1 year, you might want to look at changing that for the following year. All this data then, it's very clear and concise for the farmers to pull the information from. So just a little bit on the market itself. So again, there's loads of different systems that are out there. The biggest thing that does set us apart to it, and it's unique to us as well, is that we are just using the bull as your form of heat detection. So there's nothing else that's on the market that's utilising the bull that's already there and that you are using to pick up on those heats. So we are just ultimately taking nature and using it to our own advantage by monitoring, having a big motion sensor on the bull and determining what he's actually doing on a daily basis. It's extremely easy to set up. So once you have it set up, you have the collar charged up, all your cows are tagged, you just turn on the collar and let him work away, and it'll actually just pick up on the heats thereafter. The biggest thing, it's all real-time information. So everything that happens with the bull in the field, it's triggered back to your mobile phone as soon as it happens. So you're able to just check on bulls on a daily basis and make sure that the collar is working fine, and everything is visible in that Breed Manager app. The collar itself, so say you have, you start off using AI for the first few weeks of breeding season, and you have a teaser bull that's in the field, and then you want to use a mop-up bull or a sweeper bull, 6 weeks into breeding. You can then transfer the collar from one to the other, and it'll still start picking up on the heats for you if you have any repeats from the AI. So this is just a cost-benefit analysis from both a suckler point of view and also a dairy herd point of view. So what we've mapped out here is, the cost of your mixed heat is approximately £85. So on a comparative there for one bull and 50 cows, the Moocall heat system itself costs £1,095, and that's for one collar, and you get 50 ear tags there with that. So across your 2 to 5 year period, you're looking at for every cow that you have, you're looking at just over £8 per cow per year. For a dairy herd, again, it's a bit more significant given that you're trying to get your cows back in calf quicker and get them back into milking as well. So it's your 195 pounds is your cost, your missed heat. So over a herd of 100 cows, and you had 2 bulls running with that, for 2 Moocall heat systems, you'll be looking at 2,190 pounds. So this just works up at about £8 per cow over a 5-year period as well. So just on the pricing for both products then, the Cavern Sensor itself, it's £239 sterling, and these prices are all ex-VAT. So there's 239, and that comes with your 12 months of service and a 12-month warranty that's also included. There's an annual renewal on the Cavern Sensor of £109, and that again is to keep it connected up to your mobile phone network for the additional 12 months of the year. The Moocall heat then is basically it's more expensive, but it's doing an awful lot more for you. So it's £1,095 for the collar and 50 ear tags, and you also have a renewal then each year of £255 per year thereafter that. So one of the biggest things that we obviously focus on is on animal welfare, and we're all lovers of cattle at the end of the day, and we're trying to make sure that they have the most comfortable experience with our technology, and making sure that it causes no harm, or obviously no it causes a risk of illness or anything like that. So we put a huge emphasis on that with both the products. From an invasive point of view with both systems, we trigger that it's a non-invasive system. And the biggest thing that we want to do is reduce diseases associated with calving. Because of early intervention, you're being able to utilise with less antibiotics being used, being able to reduce your cow or cow-calf loss rate, so your mortality rate, and getting that colostrum into the calf as quickly as possible. You're also having fewer calf deaths as a result, and you're able to be there when that cow is taking place and having more time on your hands. With the Moocall heat system, again, it's a non-invasive and lower risk to infection. So if you are using, say, the likes of synchronization or anything like that, or any different breeding programs, using this system will be able to help you identify what way your breeding system is, so you can do a pre-breeding with the collar on the bull and be able to identify what's cycling, what's not cycling prior to actually season taking place. Early intervention and treatment for any cystic cows or non-cycling cows is again a huge advantage, and being able to identify them earlier is big, a big sustainable cost reduced for you. It's all automatic, so all the births that you do record, this is all calculated for you. So the system in the breed manager, this updates on a daily basis. As it happens in the field, it then in turn comes into your app. So at present, I suppose the Cavern Sensor, we're in 65 different countries worldwide at the moment. With the heat detection system, we've just reached over 26 different countries globally. So again, there's some markets that we're just seeding into, and we're actually going into new markets nearly on a monthly basis. Where more interest is taking place into countries looking to bring in different farming technologies, and there's a lot of other grants and stuff that are out there, and people want to utilize that for their farms to make them more profitable and more productive. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to ask away. I'll just pass it back over to Catherine maybe there now for the last couple of minutes.
Thank you, Stephen. That's fantastic. Right, if anybody's got any questions, then please feel free to use the chat button at the bottom of your screen. And if you've got any questions afterwards as well, if you think of anything over the next couple of weeks, then just feel free to email us and let us know, or call the Farming Connect Service Centre, and we can pass everything through to Stephen. That's not a problem. Well, Stephen, we haven't got any questions.
I was actually just going to mention, like, one of the things that a lot of people can obviously take advantage of is the Welsh Business Grant as well, that the Moocall Cavern Sensor does fall under. So I know you probably know it a lot better than I do, but the products themselves do fall under that grant. So if you were looking to apply for it and obviously get your grant on the Cavern Sensor, you're able to get approved for that as well.
Yes, absolutely. So if anybody's got any questions about that, then just give us a call on the Farm Connect number, and we'll be. Oh, I think we've got a question. Okay, Stephen, are there people using the heat collar in Wales that we can talk to?
Absolutely, yeah. Again, I'd have to look into it. I don't know names offhand or anything like that, but if you'd like, just leave your name with us, or myself or Catherine, and I'd be able to get you someone to talk to in Wales. We've plenty of users in Wales. Yeah,
definitely. We've also got under the Farmer Connect web, we've got on the website, we've got some demo farm demonstrations coming up. So what would have been face-to-face before the pandemic has now been done, is now going to be done live on the internet. If you go to the Farm Connect website under What's On, which is on the right-hand side of the Farm Connect website, you'll be able to see and register to see a demo live. And I know that Moocall are using some of those sites to demonstrate exactly what's going on. It's a couple of hours in the evening. I think the first one is the 8th of July, but go onto the What's On the Farm Connect website and you'll be able to register for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Lovely. Okay, right. If anybody else has got any questions, like we said, just feel free to contact us again if you think of anything afterwards. Like I said before, they've got some demo farm live on the internet, which is happening through the Farm Connect website. So you can log on to that to see everything that's the Moocall carving sensor system is being demonstrated under that as well, which is fantastic.
Yep.
There's also a lot of other things to do with Farmer Connect, so please go onto the internet and have a look. If you've got any questions at all, then give us a ring. The number is behind me. It's 08456 000 813, or just give us a ring. Oh, we've got another question, Stephen.
Yeah.
Does anyone know when the next FBIG window opens? All right. Okay. I will talk to you, Daph, about that later on. I can email you directly about that. That's not a problem. I will. Yeah, I'll get somebody to contact you about that. That's not an issue. Okay. Right, Stephen. Thank you very much. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, we're well. Thank you, Stephen. If anyone's got any questions, we'll get back to you immediately, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I'd like to thank yourselves at Farm Connect. And again, if anyone does have any questions for ourselves, you can reach out to us. We have, as I said, a live chat there on our website and our Facebook pages and stuff as well. So if anyone has anything for us, feel free to reach out, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. That's wonderful.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
See you now. Thank you.
Bye-bye.